So I go on the road. We would be backstage, and after his set was up, he point to one of his wranglers, let's call it. He would say, "Yo, go out to the stage, get about 4 or 5, make sure they're ready to. Gotta have two. My son need one, and his friend need one. Make it happen."
It was because you didn't know what exactly was gonna set him off, so it was like walking on eggshells, just trying to not to, like make him upset.
So, yes, his success went up, but him as a human being was declining.
DMX, these dudes aren't outliers. They're the norm, sadly. That's the worst part about it. I'm not really like big on celebrity. You know, I'm not enamored by celebrities. And I'm also not the type of person to disregard your personal life from your professional life, right? But a lot of times, I think in society, especially when it comes to men, I would almost say exclusively when it comes to men, we, again, especially as men, we will look past a man's personal life if we like them professionally, if we like what they do. So if they're like a basketball player and they get, accused of rape or whatever the case may be, or charged of rape, or they beat up their girlfriend or they beat up their wife or whatever, we'll excuse a lot of that shit. We will. A lot of men do. Most men do. I don't know how we compartmentalize it, but we do. The think R. Kelly, right? Think like that type of stuff. I don't care. I mean, he never raped me. At some point, who you are personally affects who you are professionally within reason. You know, I'm not saying you got to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination for me to like you, but if I find out like you are abusive or something like that, I'm probably not gonna fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? Like personally or professionally, like I'm probably not gonna fuck with you. If your own kids are saying you're like, I'm probably not gonna fuck with you. And a lot of men talk about legacy. A lot of men say that their kids are their legacy and all that stuff. And then they do everything they can to destroy their children. They do everything they can to break down the child, right? They often don't choose the child. They don't put the child first. They put their own needs first, selfishly. But then they still want to be considered these great men and, whatever. Because again, if they're a celebrity, it's hard, like Kanye said, it's hard to be humble when you stunting on the Jumbotron, right? I've seen this so many times. And I'm not the type of person to be like, we don't speak ill of the dead. I do. I don't care. Because what you did when you were alive still affects people now that you're gone. So why wouldn't I talk about it? Why wouldn't I bring it up? With all that being said, one of the worst people, one of the worst celebrities, one of the worst rap is DMX. I know people love DMX. I've even said I've loved DMX before, right? I didn't know how bad he was. I knew X was tormented. I knew he was conflicted. I knew he had addictions. I knew all of that stuff. But there's only so much grace you can give a person. There really is. Listening to DMX's, listening to Earl's children speak about him is very sad and frustrating.
For a long time, Earl was more just excited that he can really make that change and be this amazing father that he never had. And loyalty was so important to him. After every show, he would ask everyone to leave the room so that way Earl and Tashira can have a moment. But it became too big for me. The more the yes men, the more bigger he got, the more drugs, the more women, the more everything. Earl faded away because X came alive.
There were so many times where I go to a show with my dad. Wow. I'm going to say it exactly how it was. So I go on the road. We would be backstage, and after his set was up, he point to one of his Wranglers, let's call it. He would say, yo, go out to the stage, get about 4 or 5 bitches, make sure they're ready to I gotta have 2. My son need 1 and his friend need 1. Make it happen. And that was very uncomfortable.
That was, of all the ways to bond with your son, of all the ways you could bond with your son, DMX chose to, I mean, I'm guessing these were grown women. So, you know, I mean, that's fucking rape. You know what I'm saying? Like he chose to have grown women rape his son, abuse his son. I mean, I don't think it gets much worse than that as a father. I don't, you know what I mean? Outside of me, outside of you doing it to him yourself, I guess, but like, yeah, that's about as low as it can get. And mind you, I bet anything, it wasn't just like I want to show my son a good time. It was also on some like, this is how you make your, this is like a rite of passage. And this is how you make sure that that your son is like heterosexual, on that like Boosie type shit. A lot of men be believing that nonsense. Like, yeah, you could like if you just get a little boy some coochie when they're young, then they won't be gay. Like, that's the thing that makes you gay. It's not having coochie. It's just stupid. It's that right there is so disgusting. He need to be brought up on charges for that shit. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I bet, man, look, man, y'all not gonna, y'all, the men, y'all gonna see this, y'all gonna think this is just a rite of passage, you're gonna write it off and all that stuff. But this is why, to me, this is why, like, a huge reason why men can't express themselves and tell their truth, because other men are gonna come for him and be like, nigga, shit, man, I wish DMX was my daddy. He was giving me coochie backstage, and then guaranteed. So he can't even, you know, a lot of these men get in this position where they can't even tell their story. So I respect them for saying this out loud, because this, you know, also because he went through it, but you know, he has to be very brave to tell this story.
Being 12 years old and observing your married father openly, unapologetically cheat on his wife, your mother, my mother, created this split in my mind and actually resented my father for it. And I remember looking like, you lying ass. Like, it just kept festering inside of me. At that time, I was frightened to say anything. With him, it was such a his way or the highway.
Sometimes it'd be scary, just like being.
So a lot of, again, I think this is something that is common, is that men don't, like, we do this weird stuff, you know what I'm saying, in front of our children. We do this weird stuff in front of our children. And you think that, like, they're not processing it the way that it's meant to be processed. Like he said, you're cheating on my mother, right? Like, also, you're abusing your child while abusing your child and abusing that other boy who was there, his friend. You also were abusing his wife, his mom, at the same exact time. Like, this type of shit, the way people are, and I just got done watching the Tyra Banks, you know, thing, but the way people are coming after Tyra Banks, and rightfully so, you know, all right, cool, but this shit is 10 times worse. This shit is 100 times worse than anything that happened on America's Next Top Model. And we out here canceling Tyra Banks for America's Next Top Model. Like, but I don't hear no men talking about this. I don't hear no men talking about how disgusting DMX was to his wife and to his children. This is firsthand testimony. Ain't nobody paying them. They not talking to Barbara Walters. They not talking to, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not talking to Brian Gumble. They are talking to a YouTuber, and shout out to this woman who did this interview, because I think she did a great job. But they're not doing this for any monetary gain. They're just putting their story out there. And it's so crazy. Also, you get them. Shout out to the mama too, because the babies are so well adjusted. Listen to how smart they are, how the oldest son had just got done talking, how aware he was and is, how intelligent they are, how educated they are. That's the mama that did that, because X wasn't there. X was off, doing drugs and fucking women. You know what I'm saying? The mama was at home holding it down. The mama was at home holding it down. So I want to give her all due respect. There's just another reason why I can't stand when men be trying to like downplay the contributions of mothers. Because most men, I'm not saying we DMX, but most men, your babies wouldn't be shit if your baby mama wasn't shit. You know what I'm saying? But if the mother of your children weren't doing all the things that she was doing, your babies wouldn't be shit. But y'all want to disrespect the mothers of y'all kids.
In the house because you didn't know what exactly was going to set him off. So it was like walking on eggshells, just trying to not to, make him upset.
My father was a chameleon of temperaments. And I first caught on to that, I was about 7. I went upstairs to ask my dad for help with my homework, my English homework. And he was super, super calm. He had a bulletproof vest on with a white tank top under, dark blue denim jeans and yellow Timbs. And we're up in the bedroom and I'm like, why is he so calm? I wouldn't find out years later it was because either Vicodin or Valium or crack. But I remember being a kid.
Crack don't make you calm.
Seeing his different waves, and it still follows me.
Are you still a baby? Still a baby, man?
I 1000% think he had a lot of demons and trauma and just distractions in his life that really derailed him from just sticking with his family.
When I would talk to him, he would say that he was bipolar, and I would say, how do you know that? He was like, I know, because he diagnosed himself. He was like, I remember being in a group home, and I remember when I used to take, tests with the therapist, and I remember them telling me that I was manipulative, and he would use those, though, as excuses. Like, there's plenty of times, as a wife, I signed him up.
A lot of men will weaponize therapy. A lot of manipulators will weaponize therapy. I literally just got done watching this very interesting TikTok where this woman was talking about how I think she was a therapist, or I can't remember, but she was just saying how like it's so dangerous to take like an abuser to therapy, like do like group therapy or family therapy. She wasn't, she was a victim, because she was talking about how one time she had went to therapy with her ex, and the therapist was like, at the end of it, like after like 1 or 2 sessions, the therapist was able to spot, the covert, whatever, that, the covert abuse that was going on. And the therapist pulled her to the side. It was a man. He pulled her to the side and was like, do you have somewhere to go tonight? Like, you know what I'm saying? The therapist basically was like, you need to leave him like ASAP. Like, you know what I mean? And she ended up leaving him. But yeah. So yeah, a lot of men will use therapy. They'll use even the fact of them going to therapy as a way to manipulate a woman and be like, what you want me to do? I'm going to therapy. But the whole time he's lying to the therapist, right? So he gets to say like, I'm going to therapy. I'm doing what you're asking me to do. But simultaneously, he's not getting the help that he needs because he's gaslighting the therapist.
Up into rehabs, and he would manipulate them. He was a master manipulator.
With the bipolar, his moods were up and down, and not week to week. For him, it was day to day.
Hello, baby. Hello, baby.
It's walking on eggshells with him. It's like waiting. The anticipation from him is like, it's not like a roller coaster ride. That's like, it's not like getting a shot. It's like a dog, like waiting, like under like a tree, just like gonna bite you. Like, you know it's gonna happen. You just don't know when.
It's so sad to hear his son say this about him too. Like a lot of men as well. I want to be clear too. There are so many men that, like, when they come home, the family goes and hides in the rooms and all that. Like, this is very common. I know this. Like, I know he was DMX and he was famous, but this is common though. What he's talking about, what they're talking about is like being in a home with an abusive man, pretty much. This is just regular shit. Like, if when you come home from work, nobody is out to greet you, like regularly, not every now and again, but like regularly, you come home and conveniently all your kids are in their bedrooms, or whatever the case may be, and the wife is in the garden, and that's because you're an abuser. More than likely, that's because you're an abuser.
No, Earl.
Go on with it, Capital. Go. Go on with it, Capital.
Oh, you leaving country? When he started really getting bad was a year after I had praise. He started being really open with using his drugs and getting very paranoid. He would walk around with a machine gun or a gun in front of the nannies with something that he didn't really do. He would see things. Like he said, a helicopter was one time looking at him. I'm like, no, it's not. He was very paranoid. What he saw, he believed he saw.
You just look through the blinders. The police are coming for him, the CIA. He would put on a bulletproof vest, and he would either walk around with the shotgun or the Uzi, the semi-automatic Uzi.
While he was on a binge and he was on tour, he was in a hotel room. He's paranoid as hell. It was a big convention going on. We leaving out of the hotel. He has his book bag with his gun in his book bag. Me, him, and his uncle are standing in the lobby. He says someone is following him, watching him, and he pulled the trigger. But because it was so muffled, we couldn't hear it. He shot his uncle in the foot. He fell to the floor. We see blood everywhere. I left my pocketbook on the scene because I just ran out with Earl because he was so delirious at the time. We get in the truck. We take off. That's why I know God was right. Literally, God had his hand on our car because they did a whole man search. And they, literally, we were the last cars to make it through the George Washington Bridge. The police shut it down looking for somebody who shot somebody in a hotel. Then he started getting, when he was high and when he wasn't high, very emotionally and verbally abusive. Used to try to make it seem like everything was my fault.
Earl, why you putting David in front?
I didn't put nobody nowhere, all right? Come on. Damn.
He used to yell. And at this point, he started getting really sloppy with his cheating. Because before I would never really know, I kind of addressed him on it and he blew up. And he was like, yeah, you bitch, I don't give a shit, just yelling and screaming. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought no one could hear us in this room. And then I would come out the room and I would literally be like, hey, everybody okay? This was my life. I was so up in the head. And Xavier was in the room and he was doing push-ups. And I said to him, because I was so blind at the time, and I said, hey, man, okay, see you getting your guns up? And he was so serious. He was 14 years old. He said, yeah, I'm putting on some weight. He said, because the next time my father speaks to you like that, I'm going to kill him.
Well, what do you expect? What do you expect? This is, it's just really amazing listening to this because it doesn't matter. I really want people to understand it doesn't matter the money, the fame, and all of that stuff. At the end of the day, if you are this type of person, you're going to be this type of person, whether you're poor or rich. You know what I mean? If you don't get the help and you're this type of person, these issues are gonna persist. It's just so sad listening to your sons, and when I think about all the things that men love to, how men love to play, men love to act like they're doting fathers, and you know what I'm saying? Let Dmx tell it he was a great dad. I'm sure. Well, I don't know. Maybe not X. He might have actually said he was a bad dad. I don't know. But a lot of men be just like X and be like, "What? I was in the house. What? I provided." You know what I mean? And the whole time they're just the worst. They're the worst of the worst. And the most amazing part about this is how well adjusted his oldest son seems right now, being the oldest one. So observing all of this stuff, like, the younger ones, they're not as affected by it, but like the older son, he went through it. He went through the thick of it, and he came out the other side. I'm sure he's extremely affected, but he's he just seems like a cool cat. He just seems very healthy and well adjusted. And I love that. And that's really, like I was saying, if you listen to what she was saying, oh, hey, how's everybody doing? Because she protected everybody as well as she could. It was her, it was the mama. She was protecting everybody. She was holding up the whole thing because the man refused to help. He was caught, he was wreaking havoc.
The look in his eyes, I will never, ever forget. Like something electrified through my heart, through my soul. Like I was just like, girl, gotta go.
I was 18 years old, and my mom and dad were doing couples therapy. So I get a call, and my dad asks me, can you bring in some pills? Vicodin is going to meet you. He's going to give it to you to smuggle it in because they won't let me do anything here. I said, wait. You're in a drug-free facility. You're asking me to bring pills in for you? I said, yes. I said, I'm not going to do that.
I thought Earl really had it all together. I thought Earl really knew who he was. But he was drowning in his lies, his fame, and his mental.
It's so crazy because him going to the facility was him, like I said earlier, so many men do this, like where they go to therapy, they do this, but they're just lying, they're just manipulating everybody, right? They're just doing that to save face. They're doing that so that, it doesn't get out, whatever the case may be, right? Like, so the wife doesn't leave, so the kids don't hate him. Oh, I try really hard. You never tried. I don't as much as you want to like mourn and whatever, you know what I'm saying, and feel for these people. I'm talking about for DMX, not for the family. But it's like when you see what he did to his family, how can you at the end of the day? It's really hard, man. I'm really conflicted. Real tough.
Mental health issues.
The larger he got as an icon, as an artist, in his success, the harder it was for people to tell him no. The people around him was people that was just, yes. You want to do that? Yes. You want to do that crack? Yes. How much alcohol you want? Yes. So, yes, his success went up, but him as a human being was declining.
And that's why when I be saying this, when I say that the average man is Jeffrey Epstein or the average man is whoever, and I name the celebrity, the male celebrity that's being, destructive this week, I really mean it, because if you give men access, they usually become the person who they always wanted to become, which was a fucking degenerate. And I have so many examples of that. Even the ones like they may not become DMX, but they become fucking, what's his name? Was it Kevin Hart? Kevin Hart, oh, I'm a family guy. My family, I love my Kevin Hart was a fucking serial cheater. I don't know if he is anymore, but he was. Kevin Hart never got no action when he was younger. He wasn't getting the women. You know what I mean? He ended up getting married or whatever, right? A long time ago to his ex-wife. And then as soon as he got on, he ditched her. As soon as he became successful, he ditched her. Went and got one of them trophy wives, then cheated on her. Like, you know what I mean? So now I just think that now again, I'm not saying Kevin Hart is still a cheater. I'm using him as an example because Kevin Hart is a nice guy. He's one of the good guys. He seemed like he's just the hardest working man in Hollywood, and he family, and I love. Soon as Kevin Hart got access to some buns, he jumped on it like a burger, like a patty. He put his patty between the buns. You know what I'm saying? Put his hot dog between the buns. That's what it is, man. X is not an outlier. DMX, these dudes aren't outliers. They're the norm, sadly. That's the worst part about it. And that's why I will never let these men try to gaslight me into believing like men just be protecting their families and they love their children. And no. We don't. Selfish. Selfish. 99% of men selfish.